Welcome to Monday Markers with Charlie. This is our 10th program. We'll talk about the Mammoth Mine explosion of 1891. In honor of that, I wore one of my favorite United Mine Worker shirts. And we're going to talk about this terrible accident, so-called accident. Following the 1877 railroad strike, especially in the 3 years before the 1892 Battle of Homestead, public sentiment grew increasingly hostile to the power of industrial corporations and the ruthless men who led them. Public anger was stoked by the horrific Johnstown flood of 1889 that devastated that pioneering steel center, killing 2,300 of its 30,000 inhabitants. The disaster was caused by the failure of a dam holding an abandoned canal reservoir turned into a playground for wealthy Pittsburghers, including Henry Clay Frick, Andrew Mellon, and Andrew Carnegie. It was called the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club. Henry Clay Frick's fortunes was based on vast deposits of metallurgical coal that lay under Somerset County. Aside from control of thousands of acres, Frick, with Andrew Mellon's bank, erected over a thousand coke ovens, taking the low sulfur coal, baking it to produce a nearly pure carbon fuel ideal for steel production. Called the Coke King, control of that substance made Frick an indispensable partner for Andrew Carnegie. Two 1891 events set the stage for the dramatic confrontation at Homestead the following year. The Mammoth Mine explosion and the Moorwood Massacre we'll talk about next week. On January 29, 1891, a massive explosion ripped through the Mammoth Mine. Official death toll was 109 miners, which equaled the death toll at the Avondale Mine fire of 1869 in the anthracite region of eastern Pennsylvania, the worst Pennsylvania disaster to that point. However, accurate numbers are very difficult because of the burying, burning, and dismemberment of the victims' bodies. Miners sometimes brought helpers not on the family ledgers with them to load coal while they mined. The carnage was severe. Heads were severed, legs blown off. 25 bodies were mangled beyond any possibility of identification. The Connellsville paper reported, quote, the bodies beyond flat number 3 showed they were killed by concussion, being struck with or against something. Further out, many of the men were burned to death, and still further out from the explosion center, they died from suffocation. Miners' deaths were devastating to the poor and often large immigrant families who were completely dependent on their meager wages. The death of the family breadwinner was the major driver of child labor. The description of the mass burial of 79 mostly Eastern European Catholics in 2 long unmarked trenches appeared in the newspaper under the headline, "The Modern Moloch Drenches His Altar in the Blood of Many Brave Men." They wrote, during the service, the vast concourse of people remained hushed and silent, but when the words ceased and the clods began to rattle on the coffins, the spell was broken, and sounds of bitter grief arose. Women rushed frantically forward, sobbing, calling upon their dead ones, and no one thought it unmanly to shed a tear. Then in one part of the throng was heard again in a thin, treble voice the strains of the Slavic funeral dirge. It was taken up here and there until the accents of woe seemed to fill the air and appeal to the very heavens. The strains died away as gradually as they rose. Night draped her veil over the scene, and slowly and sadly the army of mourners filed from the cemetery. At the dedication of the Pennsylvania State Historical Marker marking this event, I served as the Master of Ceremonies, and I gave the final speech, including those quotes from the Connellsville paper. However, struck by the scriptural reference to Moloch, a Canaanite god who, according to the Hebrew scriptures, devoured adult and children's sacrifices in a fiery furnace, I remembered Moloch from the Chicago conspiracy trial, where poet Allen Ginsberg, in his testimony concerning the police riot at the Chicago Democratic Convention, recited his famous poem Howl, like an Old Testament prophet, pointing an accusing finger at Judge Julius Hoffman. In the poem, Moloch was American capitalism. I ended my remarks at Mammoth and the marker dedication with words from Ginsberg's poem. Moloch, Moloch, nightmare of Moloch, Moloch the loveless, mental Moloch, Moloch the heavy judger of men, Moloch the incomprehensible prison, Moloch the crossbones, soulless jailhouse and congress of sorrows, Moloch whose buildings are judgment, Moloch the vast stone of war, Moloch the stunned governments, Moloch whose love is endless oil and stone, Moloch whose soul is electricity and banks, Moloch whose mind is pure machinery, Moloch whose blood is running money, Moloch whose fingers are 10 armies, Moloch whose breast is a cannibal dynamo, Moloch whose ear is a smoking tomb.